Who is the greatest video game character of all time? Why is it someone from Kingdom Hearts and other things? That's what we're going to be talking about today on Systematic Geekology. I am one of your hosts, Joshua Knoll, here with a variety of other hosts. We're finishing up our series on video game icons, talking about our favorite personal icons that inspire us, as well as like who we think the main culture sees as the biggest icons in video game mystery. Yeah. So I'm here with the one and only Christian Ashley. You've heard him a few times on this series. Hopefully you know who he is. He's the leader of all things mischief and systematic ecology. TJ Tiberius Juan Blackwell, also here. He's been on other episodes. He started the series off, and he's here with us again to wrap this one up. Helping him start it off was James Dimmel, who's here again, so we can talk about the absolute greatest video game icons, and not just arcade or Sega, not just Sony, not just Xbox, but like of all time. Who's the best character? And as always, to start this off, we're going to talk about who we find personally as someone who is iconic to us in like the real world that we look up to and want to be more like. So on three, we're all going to say Will Rose. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, mine this time I am going to say Will Rose. I don't know who I said last time, but I do find Will personally inspiring. He loves everybody, but he's also not like. He's not unwilling to be aggravated or to be like, hey, this kind of stinks. Or Josh, it's actually okay to keep money sometimes. Like he's not like overly virtuous. He just genuinely loves people. And I think that's something I strive to be. So that I'm not like trying to constantly be afraid, am I doing the right thing or not? But I just like genuinely love people like Will. That would be great. So yeah, Will is going to be my icon today. I'm stealing that from TJ. But speaking of TJ, who do you want to shout out as your icon today?
Well, I was going to say Will Rose again, probably.
You should. It'd be funny.
But I kind of been reading more Brandon Sanderson books, and by more, I mean Wind and Truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't imagine working that hard, ever.
The man works so hard. It's insane.
All right. Well, there we go. James, icon, you wanna shout out who's someone that you aspire to be like?
I can't say Will Rose.
You sure can.
We should. We need to start a systematic ecology campaign in the North Carolina Senate of the ELCA, to which Will and I both belong as pastors. There is a bishop's election this May, and we need to get Will Rose elected as bishop of the North Carolina Senate. How does
vote for Will
Rose of North Carolina sound to systematic theology? I like it.
Sounds natural, you know.
He's gonna hear this and hate it because he absolutely would be a good bishop.
Yeah. All the best bishops and pastors don't want to be bishops and pastors.
Seriously.
But also, like, think about it. He's the bishop of the Tar Heel state. I mean, that sounds perfect,
right?
For him.
Well, you know what? Shout out to all those iconic bishops in the early church who literally the church had to like go to the woods and find them and drag them back.
Yeah,
to make them bishop.
And how they paved the way for Will Rose.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
Right. My actual icon, it's in all seriousness, I was going to say, is Jimmy Carter, the president, who just passed away.
Great pick.
Thinking about him a little bit this past week, and just someone who I think epitomized being kind and gracious and didn't need to use his voice all the time, and led with love and action, and just someone for me whose faith, I think, had an iconic faith in the sense that it grew over the course of his lifetime. Yeah. And he constantly reflected, I think. So for me, icon this week.
Love it. Christian, bring us home.
Well, 2,000 years of church history brought us to Will Rose. And without him, we'd all be lost.
Yes.
But I know Will is like in his chair right now, just like slowly sinking in. Please stop talking about me. If you're on YouTube, you can see that I'm also the first acolyte of the newly formed Nick Polk cult. I do look up to Nick. He's a pretty cool guy.
Yes.
But my actual answer is going to be my grandfather, my maternal grandfather. He was one of those people growing up who just loved me, just loved the family, would always, whatever new interest he had, he'd read up on it. He'd go out and do stuff with me. And unfortunately, he passed when I was in high school, and it's still a loss that's felt today. But just if I would have his ability to be who he is, I'd consider myself to be a great person.
Man, that's a good one. Also, is the Nick Polk cult reference a whole church podcast reference?
Well, I was talking about your Dead Space episode that was just released.
Oh, is that when we formed the Nick Polk cult? That is, you're right. You're right. It was in Dead Space. Yeah, that's a good reference. And since you're the first acolyte, I think we should also appoint Will the first bishop of the Nick Polk cult. Yeah, it sounds right. It sounds natural.
It's exactly what he wanted when he woke up this morning to listen to this episode.
Well, guys, if you're on a laptop, do us a favor. Consider rating and reviewing our show on Podchaser or Good Pods, specifically one of those two that helps the show gain recognition. Google and other search engines likes those things. So if you rate us on there, it makes Google like us, which is cool. If you're on your phone, consider rating, reviewing, or commenting on our show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Those are the two largest platforms people listen to podcasts on. So if you do it over there, that's going to prioritize our show and their search engines. And we're just going to deceive everyone into thinking our show is important so that more people listen. So help us be deceptive. And, of course, we got to thank one of our sponsors. Daniel Sigmund helps sponsor the show. Thank you, Daniel. You rock. And if you guys listening are like, how did he get a shout out and you want your own shout out? Well, $3 a month on Apple Podcasts, Captivate, or Patreon, you can get your own shout out as one of the sponsors of Systematic Ecology. So maybe consider doing that. It's kind of cool. And I mentioned earlier, this is the last episode in our video game icon series. So if you want to hear the rest of the episodes and you haven't heard the whole series, in the show notes down below, it'll be one of the first links. Will be that whole series. You can go and check it out. And without further ado, I did the wrong intro earlier. I just remember that. Anyway, we're going to be going over icons of all video game history, all the best characters ever. I have more than 30 slides to talk about for the characters you guys submitted and myself. So we're going to do this in under an hour somehow. And part of how we're going to do that is by not talking about each of our histories with video games. Go listen to those other episodes. We've told you some of our history of video games. You can learn who we are through other episodes. I'm plugging my own thing because it's going to make this episode easier. I do want to ask everybody though, really quick. What have you enjoyed about doing this series so far, or like hated? Are you guys like, hey, we should never do a series like this again, or were you like, hey, this was actually really fun, and here's why? On your criticism.
Go ahead, TJ.
It's really difficult for me personally to put things in a list. I get asked kind of often, like, my top 5, top 3, top 10 things are in any given category. It's so hard for me to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you are on this show. That does happen.
Like, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
Because you have to systematically list like everything you've ever played or done or whatever. It's like, oh man, I have to put numbers tied to those things. I hate that, but there's also an answer.
Yeah, for me, it's been more fun like the clear answers. Like doing the PlayStation one, there was two that I'm like, these are just obvious answers. Talking about those were fun because it's like just giving me a chance to talk about characters I love. But then choosing one that I wasn't really sure on, I'm still like, should I have said him? Should I have said somebody else? So yeah, that's how I am. James, any thoughts on this part?
Yeah, it's been fun to sort of stroll through memory lane, and I've taken them kind of personally, who are like my personal iconic characters, not who I think are the maybe the objectively the greatest of all time, but who's the greatest for me. As we see today, I've got one that's probably not going to make any top list, but
I love all of the picks you sent me. And for transparency for everybody, I know my own and James' top 3. I have no idea Christian or TJ's. Christian sent me like a normal 5 or 7 thing list. TJ sent me like 73 characters. I just chose some at random. Hopefully one of the 3 of them are his top. We'll see.
That's what he asked for the record.
I did. And I'm really excited that I don't know. And with TJ, I really am unsure. Because some of the characters he included, I was like, I didn't expect him to include that. Is he including it because of I don't know. I'm going to find out.
You know what the best part is? I didn't even include one of them.
That's even better.
Josh, he sent you that list just to troll you. That's it.
None of them. We're not going to use any
of these choices.
Just wanted you to make the slides. Oh, God. Great stuff. Well, then let's jump into our top three. We're going to start with number three. I'm going to do mine first, simply because I think at the end I want everyone to be surprised, and I don't think there's a soul who's heard our show before that's going to be surprised by my top pick. So there's just no point in letting me go last. Like, it's pointless. Everyone knows mine. But for number three, I do think it's possible that this could surprise somebody. Maybe. We'll see. My number three pick. I'm trying to decide which format I want to use for this. What does this look like?
Ooh.
Yeah, sure. Let's do this. My number three pick. I'm gonna go with Banjo. Just Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie. I don't know that much about Kazooie.
Wow.
But I like Banjo a lot.
Banjo.
What is it?
I mean, I'm looking at Ryu right now.
All right, wait. You don't see Banjo on your screen right now?
Nope.
That's
I
a
see it.
That's fun. Well, Banjo's on my screen, so I'm going to keep talking about Banjo.
Let's do it.
So, yeah, I love Banjo. The thing that inspires me about Banjo specifically, he started off a Nintendo character. He was fun. Actually, he started off in Diddy Kong Racing. Don't know if anybody knows that. That was something interesting. I didn't know that. Platform game, right? He's going to do some magic stuff, going to have some voodoo stuff going on, and he's just going to go and he's going to do the quest up until his Xbox game, Nuts and Bolts, and he's like, you know what? Actually, I think a better way of doing this, instead of just running around everywhere and hoping for the best, punching things, what if I just built really cool stuff that beat the bad guys for me? So he went from just being a guy running around to being like, hey, what if I worked smarter, not harder? So I'm going with Banjo for my number three, and I'm hoping to emulate and copy his ability to better himself, to say, hey, I think there's a better way of doing things, and just do it, If I'm going to immolate anything, I'm really just not entirely sure why he's fighting some of the people he's fighting. So, I want to make sure I know why I'm fighting who I'm fighting. I'm not just going to go fight a witch, It's probably going to put a curse on me. I'm going to leave that alone, personally. But, yeah, his ability to better himself, I'm going to keep.
We need the wicked backstory of the witch in Banjo-Kazooie. What's going on from her perspective? What's the backstory?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd watch that.
Every villain has an origin story.
Absolutely. Oh man. Let's see, what order I want to do this in. I'm gonna go James next. James, your top three pick. I don't remember who it was, so you're gonna have to tell us.
Well, good. My top three pick is a duo to key you up. And I love these games so much as a kid. I replayed them last year. They are the duo of Jack and Daxter. Those games taught me how to game. I love those games so much. And so yeah, I love Jack because he's completely silent the first game, and then you don't know a lot about him, and then he has this whole awakening. And I love that Naughty Dog just had the guts to completely redo the direction of that series after the first game. The first game's a pretty standard kind of platform, and then you go into more of an open kind of zone. It kind of felt like early open world gaming.
Yeah, for sure.
Jack 2 and Jack 3 did. I think for sure. And so, yeah, you get some really good story. You get a lot of good humor. I think Jack is one of those characters who sort of stands on business, as the kids say, and takes no nonsense and is just really cool. Daxter is a perfect foil. He is hilariously irreverent. And yeah, so I think for me, what I would want to immolate from this duo is perhaps some of Jack's rage issues and some of Daxter's wildly inappropriate humor. I played those games last year again, and I was like, oh, you can't make these jokes today like this. Maybe you can, because 2025 is a wild time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, things to imitate from Jack would just be, he's cool, man. He stands on business. He confronts his inner darkness. He finds some balance. So yeah.
Yeah, I dig it. Ah, man. Yeah, Jack and Daxter almost made my PlayStation list too. I love that duo. Fun games. All right, queuing up next, Christian. I don't know yours
Okay.
either, so.
I am going to be choosing for my third pick Pikachu from Pokemon.
I have to wildly flip. I didn't think that was
Yes,
going to
you
be
have
near
to
the top.
wildly flip. Just
Okay.
to throw you off. I know you weren't expecting that. Maybe just put that as a troll. Like, no, actually, like from the games, from the anime, Pikachu is one of the most iconic characters of all time. And even though like I would probably prefer Charizard more, I think in light of what's going on here, um, what it means for a company, Pikachu's your pick. And for a billions of dollars company, you've got a cute, marketable, as James just had in his hands. So of course, you've also seen Pang's gigantic Pikachu's that I don't know how she keeps buying, and they haven't like taken over her entire house. But like,
She has a second house for that, actually.
of course, she's so financially responsible she can do that, unlike us. So yeah, it's got the cuteness factor going for it. It's got the BA factor going for it. Like when you see all the feats it's capable, there have been literal games devoted to Pikachu. You've got Pokemon Yellow, of course, and you have the Let's Go games. Um, and there's just wonderful things you get from this cute little mouse rat that will, charge you up and win your battles for you. And Pokemon Yellow was my favorite back in the day. There have since been other games released, but like getting to choose Pikachu and then all the other starters meant a lot to me as a kid. That you
Yeah.
couldn't do in the other games because they required you to have friends who had link cables, and some of us were living on a teacher salary and didn't live, in Tokyo where we could find 5 billion people to do that with us. So Pokemon Yellow was perfect for that, and Pikachu was just fun. Yeah, you were forced not to use Raichu, and there's arguments for and against that, but Pikachu's
Yeah.
perfect the way that Pikachu is. So like characteristics we should emulate, like the scrappy nature of Pikachu. Like if we're including anime feats, like Pikachu as an electric type is able to actually hit a ground type with an electric attack, which is impossible unless there are very specific circumstances being done. And you know what? Sometimes you just need to kick reason to the curb and go beyond the impossible. And Pikachu does that, and that's something we should all strive for. Now, excising, probably shouldn't be shocking your friends, even if they deserve it. Uh, I'd excise that from my personality because there are parts of me, with people, I'd really like to shock them and maybe, hopefully, get them back to where they need to be, but that's not very
Sorry,
healthy.
I won't do it, Christian. I'm stuck in my ways.
You'd be number one.
Oh man, no, good stuff. Even though he said excise instead of Immolate, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, you got to be
You're the
careful.
one even
We're
changed
talking
the
about
outline.
Pikachu.
Yeah,
A couple
Pikachu's
words here
great.
we don't want to say with Pikachu.
That's true. You never know what'll happen there. I like that though. Although, of course, you're talking about going beyond the possible, and my brain just went How I Met Your Mother to Barney Stinson making his little video about the possible. And if you haven't seen that episode, please watch that episode before you make your next resume. It'll keep you from getting a job, but it'll be entertaining. DJ, what's your number 3 pick?
To me, the number 3 most iconic character of all time is Ryu Hayabusa, which I'm pretty sure Josh doesn't know what he looks like.
I do. I'm flipping through the slides looking for him. You'll have to tell me if I'm right.
He was early.
Yeah. You can see what I'm doing down here? No,
Yeah, he's who I saw, but you didn't see.
Yep.
I was right. All right, go ahead.
Love Ryu. I've played Ninja Gaiden my whole life. Like the reboots. I didn't even know it was an older game until way later. Way later. Now I've played them all. And I do like the reboots more, except for Ninja Gaiden 3. But to me, Ryu is possibly just the coolest guy imaginable. I wanted Ryu in Smash Bros. So badly. And if you've never seen or played Ninja Gaiden, you're missing out on some of the best and hardest action games of all time. And that goes for both series. The reboots and the originals. Hard as nails. Some of the hardest games ever.
There was some game you mentioned last time that you're like, it hasn't got a reboot yet. And then I feel like a week later, they announced that they were doing a remake or something. Sorry, my brain's stalling. What would you emulate or immolate from EU?
So, basically, if I could just become the coolest guy on the planet and also maybe a little bit jacked,
You're
I would
halfway
like
there.
I would like to be that from. Oh yeah, I'm like a quarter way jacked. I need to get there.
Such
Especially
noble
if you,
goals.
yeah, if you play Ninja Gaiden and you like see him, he's just like massive in the game. Like this is like the cover art. He's not that small in the game. That dude's huge. But he's actually realistically what I'm trying to emulate is he is so bound to what he sees as his duty. He owes his clan and his family so much because they get wiped out, and he takes it upon himself to avenge them. And he is unwavering. He just fights the devil at one point.
Nice.
That's the kind of motivation that I respect, and if I could be that, and also a little bit jacked, that would be great.
Yeah. And think you would immolate?
Maybe fist fighting the devil.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe don't do that.
Yeah,
Oh,
not
no, it could be
until
good.
after I'm a little bit jacked.
Fair enough. All right. Well, now we're on to our number twos. And this is where it gets easy for me, is 2 and 1 are just very easy picks. My number 2 is someone I already talked about in a different episode that I'll just talk about again, I guess. The one and only Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank. Nothing's really changed about why I love them. So these games are like sci-fi, silly adventure, but also comment a lot on like robots versus organic life. If you're into AI conversations, he's a good one. I'm also sometime around now, we're releasing an episode about AI in video games, and I talk some about the Ratchet and Clank games. But one thing I love about Ratchet is he's a mechanic who stays true to who he is. He stays a mechanic throughout all the games. He never stops being a mechanic. He's very genuine, and even though a lot of times he has like bad motivations for what he does, eventually he steps up for his friends because he cares about his friends. And he has a wonderful sense of humor. No matter how bad things get, Ratchet will find a way to make a joke. So as far as things to emulate, just like last time, I want to emulate his genuineness. I want to emulate even some of his humility, I guess, and his sense of humor. Mostly just that ability to be funny in the hardest of times is something I want to keep for myself. And as far as immolate, yeah, also probably some of the inappropriate jokes, like what James said about Dexter. And, some of his motives aren't the best. Sometimes he's motivated by just money and women, and I hope that I'm motivated by better things than that. So that's where I'm at with Ratchet as my number 2. James, number 2, who are we going with? You're muted, sorry. Wait, I got it. There you go.
Sorry about that.
There we go.
My cat decided to throw up 2 feet from me just a minute ago. So
Perfect.
now she's gonna make an appearance in about 30 seconds, maybe less. My number 2 is Sora from Kingdom Hearts. How can you not have him if you are sort of like me? I'm not a big fighting gamer. My gaming lane is I love the big plot driven stories, and Sora has been doing it since 2002, holding it down for Square Enix and for Disney, and uniting those two wonderful worlds. And he's a very simplistic character. He leads with the heart. He's about the friends. He plays into every Japanese manga friendship trope that there is. They tried to make his character more complex in Dream Drop Distance and Kingdom Hearts 3. It didn't work that well, I don't think. I'm scared for Kingdom Hearts 4. We'll see what happens. But yeah, he's just been doing it for so long. And what I love about Sora is, in that series in general, is that there's just a lot left to be explained, and some of those questions from that first game I don't think have been answered yet. And so he's really he's a character that's really simple and clean. That series has really been a sanctuary for me. He teaches you how to face your fears, and then you don't really think twice as you're playing through that series. And that, I think, is every single one of those.
Yeah, he referenced all 4 songs. It was beautiful.
So I've been thinking about that line for a little bit. Anyways, so yeah, I love Sora. What I would imitate is, I think, just leading with the heart, trusting in your friends. I think, I don't know if this landed with what they did in Kingdom Hearts 3, but really, again, working on yourself and I think learning to hold yourself with humility and pick up the pieces back when you face those moments in life that sort of break you down. What I would emulate from Sora is perhaps a bit of his naivete. Just
it's fair.
just to say the least. He isn't always aware as he should be, and it's lovable, but it's also can be painfully awkward at times. So
Yeah, that's true. Oh man. All right. So now on to Christian. Christian, where are you at for number 2?
All right, my number 2 pick, probably an interesting pick for most people, would be the Dragonborn of Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Now, you may say, well, Christian, he's not an actual character. You make him a character. Well, yeah, that's what the fun is for this character. It's like, you can play man or woman. You can, pick which race you are, and that affects how the game is played, how people interact with you in certain respects. Could have been done better by Bethesda, but, they're getting a little weaker in certain respects. But right now, why would I ever pick a character like the Dragonborn? It's because of what they do in the game. It's like you are literally imbued with the soul of a dragon as the dragons are returning, and no one else is going to be capable of putting them down for good except for you. And you can choose to be a hero. You can choose to be a mercenary. You can choose to be a very evil person. And I like the ability to do that with a character. If you're going to make them a blank slate, make them a blank slate. And you can do
Yep.
that with a character like the Dragon Ball. Now, I play a little more towards the good side of things. If you've heard anything else that I've ever done on this show, but sometimes you ever have those feelings like, man, it'd be better off if that person didn't exist in the world, and you can get away with it scot free. You can get away with it scot free in these games sometimes. You do things right. Like, there's a certain character who's abusive to his daughters, and Rorikstead, Limkill, and he just happens to get an arrow to the face as soon as I meet him, and then I go adopt his daughters as soon as possible, so that they have an actual responsible father. Done by murder, but you know what? It's fine. It's in the video game. I didn't do it in real life. But you've got fantastic abilities you use here. The dragon shouts are a great aspect of the game where you can choose. You can even utilize magic as well on its own, or you can choose to use all the shouts. You can choose one of the shouts. You can just go sword and board. That the fun part of the Dragonborn is that there's so much possibility in the character, and it all depends upon you and how you want to play the game. And I enjoy being given choices like that and making my choices make sense in the world and to have fun with them. There's very few things out there that are not good to choose for, like, if you want to play a certain play style. And I think the Dragonborn does that well. Now, as far as like emulating, once again, you can choose to play the character however you want. So I'm going to choose to emulate the more noble aspects of the character of, like, wanting to preserve the world. Like, there's a moment you can talk to Parthenax, who is, you learn, a dragon who's been resisting his own will. And you say, why do you want to save the world? It's like, well, I live in the world. I want to keep the world where it is. It's like, oh, that's a pretty good reason. And I like choices like that. I like a game like this. Excising, I would excise the more negative aspects. You can become a cannibal. You can murder people relentlessly. You can, beat people up to make them give you protection money and steal from people and other things. It's like, yeah, those quests are fun, but I don't know if I want to be that person. So that's what I would excise.
Yeah. Oh, totally. A good pick. All right. Now, the last of the twos. TJ, who is your number 2 pick for your favorite video game icon?
I'm going to do a similar thing to Christian. I'm going to go with Courier 6 from Fallout New Vegas. Absolute classic. One of my favorite games of all time. And just one of the coolest dudes around. Or one of the lamest dudes around. It depends on how you play the game. And how you see your character.
He's right.
But to me, it's one of the coolest dudes of all time. As far as what I see as an icon, the way that Courier 6, which is just the player character, if you're a little confused, very similar to Christians, but wakes up after being shot in the head and decides to take control of his own life. Loses his job as a courier, which is where he gets the name, because he got shot in the head, and just decides to make life what he wants it to be. That's what we should all do. He's like, you know what? I'm playing for me now. I'm going to go take over the country. At least that's how it always goes when I play the game.
As far as like, what would you want to emulate and immolate from him?
Yeah, emulate. That's what I want to do. I want to take control of my own life. Everything I do, it's going to be my decision. Immolation. The courier has some decision-making issues, I would say, because I'm the one that's always making the decisions.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I want to be less like that in the future.
Make better
At least
decisions.
in real life. In real life, I want to make better decisions.
Yeah, in 2025, TJ hopes to make better decisions.
Yeah, in Fallout New Vegas,
Groundbreaking.
I'm
Level
going
up
to
that
keep
speech
making bad
skill.
decisions.
Yeah. Groundbreaking. You know, I feel like it would have been a lot more shocking if you would have been like, actually, I want to make worse decisions in 2025. That's my real goal.
I want to watch
It's
my
still
world
early.
burn.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so now for the most non-shocking, most absolute not surprising reveal. My top pick is Sora from Kingdom Hearts. No one saw this coming at all. Oh man, no. For me, like even genuinely, it's not just because it's my favorite game. Because there's a lot of things that are like my favorites that I am like, yeah, the characters kind of suck though. Like, right? Like honestly, I love Star Wars. There's not a ton of Star Wars characters that I want to be like personally. I find most of the Skywalkers to be too whiny. I don't want to be them. I love Han Solo. I don't want to be Han Solo. Sora, I want to be like Sora. Here's a few reasons why. Part of why he's iconic to me too, though, is because he's relatable. A lot of the games I play, the characters are too good. You know what I mean? Like they're the most powerful, or they're the hero. They're the sole thing that the whole universe depends upon. And like here we're playing this game, and it's like, yeah, actually Riku's better than you. If you're gonna go pure light, also you have King Mickey. Listen, Riku can do the power of waking. Sora can't even do the power of waking. Come on, man. You got King Mickey, who's like actually the beacon of light. Here's Sora, who like everyone's connected to in some way, but like realistically, he's an ordinary kid who grows throughout these games as like someone who's like, I just want to be with my friends. And then later he's like, well, actually, by friends, I really mean something bigger than that. Who just genuinely loves everyone, like Pastor Will. And then like you even see where like he makes mistakes. Like he thinks he could do more than he can, and he fails in Dream Drop Distance. And then in the third game, he's having to like rediscover himself because he's like, yeah, I'm actually not the best. I'm not. And even Kingdom Hearts 1, you see that at the end where he realizes he can't do it on his own. His heart's not as strong as Riku's. But he's discovered that he's entangled, that if he relies on his relationships and those around him and he loves them, admits his vulnerability, he actually gets stronger. So that's what I want to emulate. I want to emulate the ability to say, hey, I'm not the strongest. I'm not the best. I'm not even the best host at Systematic Ecology. I'm not the best podcast editor or anything. But I hope that I can admit that and learn to lean on the friends and those that I love and have relationships with enough that even though I'm not the best, I can still go forward in love with those around me. So that's what I want to emulate. As far as immolate, yeah, like I mentioned, sometimes I'm doing the opposite of Christian's Pikachu pick. Sometimes Sora does stuff that's impossible and it turns out bad because you shouldn't do stuff that's impossible. You know, he runs in, he's like, oh, I could do this. And then he ends up caught in his own dream and can't discover what's a dream or not. And Riku has to save him because he just runs in blindly. And I'm like, sometimes don't run in blindly. Sometimes I need to like stop and think things through before I just run in. So I'm going to immolate that rash running in emotional reaction that he has, but emulate his ability to lean on his friends, admit his vulnerability, and live in love. Yeah. So that's my number one pick. Everyone expected. It rants over. James, who are you going for number one all-time video game icon?
Yeah, I just want to say before I reveal my number one pick, I don't trust Tetsuya Nomura, the director and writer of Kingdom Hearts,
That's
enough to
fair.
think that Sora is just a normal person. Kingdom Hearts 5, we're going to find something out deeply
Oh,
revelatory
yeah,
that no one
but
saw
it's
coming.
fine.
My number one pick is going to be Link from the Legend of Zelda series. I think if you were to ask people on the street, who, name top 5 video game players you can just recognize, they would say Zelda, and they would mean Link. And Link
Yeah.
has been doing it, holding it down since the 80s. He's like, I think, an archetype character in the world of gaming. I love that, those early games, you couldn't have much plot to them just because of the way gaming was. It just wasn't complicated. And they kept that as a core feature of his personality. I love these more recent games on the Switch because you kind of get a little bit more of his overall character and who he is, but they, I think, keep it simple and keep the gameplay the focus. And I think for me, Link just does crazy things and faces crazy things time and time again, and does it without complaining, unless you count a stereotypical grunt when doing something painful as a complaint. But for me, yeah, Link is just, his whole thing is, he's the courage aspect of the Triforce, right? And for me, I face a lot of situations in my life where I don't feel particularly courageous. And so if I'm going to imitate anything from Link, it's just that like ability to like do the thing. Maybe not even think about it and just leap in, and somehow it works out. So yeah, if I had to immolate one thing from Link, I would, maybe talk a little bit more. So, invest in relationships.
Yeah, like Sora.
Exactly. It's a balance between Link and Sora. That's what we need.
All right. And now, one and only, Christian Ashley. Who is your top video game icon?
All right. I am choosing for my number one of all time, Kyle Katarn from the Dark Forces series, Star Wars. This is my guy. He's a representation of everything good in Legends canon that unfortunately has to be Legends canon because of Disney. But at the end of the day, like, this is what Star Wars was about. You had oh no, Finn is a stormtrooper who's like, I don't
Is
know
it
if I'm on
him?
the right side. Guess who was here before then? Kyle Katarn, who switched sides, who became a Jedi over time, and realized, maybe the mercenary life isn't for me. Maybe there's more to this life than just what I care about. And, hey, I'm going to go kill some dark Jedi fools because they're trying to take over the entire galaxy. You know what? It's a great world. Also, by the way, I'm the one who delivered the Death Star plans in the first movie. So you're welcome. The entire rebellion succeeds because of Kyle Katarn. This is, if you want, like, one of the greatest fun games as far as combat, as far as like the different options you have. You can go all blasters, you can go all lightsaber. In later games, you don't start off as a Jedi. Over the game, you learn that you actually are the son of a Jedi who escaped Order 66, and now you have a legacy you left behind. Like, how are you going to choose to use it? Like, you're going to fall towards the dark side a little more. You're going to let those aggressive tendencies take over you, or you're actually going to like commit to the light. Are you going to join up with Luke Skywalker and help him out with his new Jedi Order? Are you going to watch out for Mara Jade as she's through this process of becoming an apprentice to you, but also dealing with your own darker innermost tendencies? And then later on, he doesn't get used as much in the novels as he should have, but there's other stuff there. But video game only, like, Kyle Katarn is like the baddest guy in the universe. Like, how there used to be Chuck Norris facts, there were also back in the day used to be Kyle Katarn facts. And
Great.
like Kyle Katarn doesn't use anything to shave his beard except for his lightsaber. Like, it just kept going on and on. It was just more ridiculous from there on out. Like, if you wanted to be the guy in Star Wars, you wanted to be Kyle Katarn. So like characteristics I would take from him, like that I would really like to emulate, would be like his tenacity and his like, he faces so many things that are like, if I had gone like, nope, no puzzle solving, no dealing with people I don't want to deal with, I'm done, someone else can take the job. Like, no, he's got, okay, I have a mission, I have a set goal, I'm going to do the thing no matter how much it costs me. And that's something I should really emulate. Now, as far as something that I would excise would be his more controlling and more dark side-ish kind of activities. Is like, he wants to be, I mean, it comes from a good place of wanting to stop evil, but at the same time giving in to more evil impulses that can happen if you go a dark side path in some of the games. Um, so that's something I would excise from his character is like, no, okay, just because I think something is right doesn't automatically make it right. Let me actually work with people instead of trying to control people.
Yeah, man. Sounds like a good one. I've never
Yeah.
played that. Sounds
Great.
good.
Great multiplayer in those games as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Super underrated.
Yeah. Man, there was something you said that I was going to make a joke about, but I couldn't remember what it was. How disappointing. Anyway, TJ, last but certainly not least, who is your number one pick?
Okay. I do feel bad about this one, but there's a good reason he's not on the list. All right. I feel bad because I think I do know my number one game of all time. And I think I know my number one character of all time. I just feel bad saying it out loud. I don't know, I'm never able to do it. But to me, my number one gaming icon of all time is Corvo Attano from Dishonored.
This is not something I've heard of before.
Which is crazy.
Solid pick.
It's crazy. I love Dishonored. It's one of probably my favorite game ever. It's definitely top 3. I'm bad at ranking things. We covered this. But Corvo, he gets falsely accused of murder. He is the Empress's bodyguard. He's not in the slides. Stop looking.
I'm not looking at the slides for that. I'm preparing the next thing.
Oh, you know. But he gets accused of murder. He gets set up for killing the Empress, which is also his not wife. They weren't married, but they were together. They were a couple. And then he has to break out of prison, dismantle the corrupt government that killed his wife, framed it on him, claw his way up from basically hell, the underworld, plague-ridden Middle Ages city, make a deal with the devil? Who knows? I haven't played Death of the Outsider. I'm not sure what the Outsider is, but he's some deity that gives you power. Or you can choose not to. Game's great. Try it out. But everything he does for love, because he does it all to save his daughter. And if I can go through that much and keep in love in front of me and motivating me, that would be great. That's what I want to be in life, is just driven by love. Like Will Rose and Corvo Attano.
And Sora. But what would you immolate?
See, the way I play the game, I don't kill nobody. Nobody ever sees me. But lots of people make Corvo Attano kill lots of people, and therefore make the city worse as a whole, which is a great mechanic. I love these games. Dishonored's fantastic. But he's very secretive. I don't think secrecy is a good thing, generally. There are, of course, things that, you don't have to tell everybody everything, but I don't want to be like that. I don't want to, keep everything separate from everyone. My whole life's compartmentalized. That's a whole new cat. I've never seen that cat before.
This is the one I like.
But, yeah, that's what I want to immolate from Corvo's personality, is the secrecy.
I like it. I dig it. All right. Well, we got a couple more things before we wrap this up. So you have all of our top 3 picks. I think we did fantastic, personally, especially me and James. But you guys did okay. But what do you guys think as far as? Well, first let's run through honorable mentions. I know there's a lot here, so maybe I'll cheat and I'll run through these slides, and whoever had added these characters to the slides can tell me why they're an honorable mention in 2 sentences or less. So we got Master Chief.
Okay.
He's Master Chief.
Yeah.
Next
Master
slide.
Chief. Yeah, I mean, what more do you need?
Yeah, boring game, boring character. All right, Sora,
Josh
we
is
already did.
stupid, by the way. Josh hates Halo.
I do. It's so boring. I don't
my
understand it. I beat it in like less
I
than a
don't
day when I
understand
was
it. Everyone
10. I'm like, what
understands.
is the point of this? Anyway, Ryu, I think that's his name. I think
Sort of.
TJ added him.
Yep. Ryu from Streets.
Why is
He's
he on
Ryu.
here? Yeah.
He's
Anything
the
cool about
fighting
him?
game character.
All right. Okay. We covered Banjo. I don't know who this is, but he looks cool. Or she.
Revan,
That's
Revan, depending on your choices in the second best in the series, the original Knights of the Old Republic, he is your player character, and you find that he was trying to unite the Sith against a threat that was going to attack the Republic, and in so doing, fell to the dark side. Became the antithesis of what he was supposed to be. Then you can actually turn him to the light or to the dark side, depending on your choices. Uh, one of the best characters. However, Darth Treya is far superior in every way. She is who I would end up being. I didn't put her on the list, unfortunately, so we don't get to see her image. If I didn't have Jesus in my life, I would be exactly like her, except just take out old woman, put old man, and all of her cantankerous aspects would be me.
All right. Yeah. They also did a whole Knights of the Old Republic like mini series last year, the year before or something. You two did. Anyway,
Yes.
anything else before I move on from this one? This honorable mention here. Okay. We talked about that person.
You can hear
These
what I have to
guys.
say about Joel and Ellie on the PlayStation games.
True.
Great characters, done dirty by the second game.
Bowser.
he's Bowser.
He's cool. Yeah. Dragon Turtle.
Yep.
That's what I like about him.
You think
All right.
video game enemy? Bowser.
God of War. We talked about this on PlayStation episode 2, but TJ didn't. You want to mention why you had him on your list?
A lot of these ones right here, these are just pretty easy to explain in one sentence. That's Kratos.
Yeah. Yeah, Kratos cool.
Chun-Li. It's if you're a fighting game fan and you or even like in passing fighting game fan, if you've only ever seen one fighting game clip, Chun-Li is probably in it because it is probably Evo Moment 37.
I'll
That is
pretend
what
like those
iconic
words
means
make
to me.
sense.
She's in every single Street Fighter game. If we're just going strictly copy sold, the only character that could be in more games than her is Pikachu and Mario.
Well, I've heard of those two. Anyway, this guy looks cool.
He is cool. Hey, Hachi, a lot of people did want him in Smash instead of Kazuya Mishima. I have to explain this in Josh terms, and he doesn't even know what Kazuya Mishima is.
I sure don't.
But Heihachi is big villain. The villain of the Tekken games, generally. Sick dude.
All right.
Tekken character.
Talked about him. Yeah. Smash Bros. Character. I
That's
think
all
he's in
you have
something
to say
else.
about the. Oh man.
Oh, gosh.
So, Solid Snake. I can't believe no one said Solid Snake
Yeah.
for like their top 3. I love Metal Gear Solid. My dad loves Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
To me, that says a lot because he's 60. But
Yeah.
he's Solid Snake, or Venom Snake, or Liquid Snake.
James
He's kind of like
has
Sora.
something to
You'd
add.
like that.
It just depends on how much you heat him. Which one's going to show up? No, Snake would have been in my top 3, I think, but I never played Metal Gear Solid 4 or 5. Like I was just not gaming. I know, right? Then, and I haven't done it to myself. I'm really looking forward to the Snake Eater remake that I think is coming later this year. That's going to be awesome. That game
Pretty
was
soon this year.
incredible. Yeah, Snake is great.
All right. So, Smash Bros. Character. Another Smash Bros. Character. Anybody want to say anything about this guy?
Joker, Persona 5, your player character for this, awesome character. Easily one of the best protagonists in Persona series. You know, fights against corruption, fights for his friends. You'd love him. He's like Sora.
That's now how Christian sells me on any character. It's like Sora. Oh man. Samus. Anyone want to tell me why this character is also like Sora?
There
I feel like
is.
go ahead, TJ.
Oh, I was just gonna talk about Samus in general. But yeah.
Please, TJ, carry on.
Yeah.
Love to hear your commentary here.
Yeah, there is an entire genre of video game based on Samus Aran's video games.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's iconic.
If you want
Next.
probably the top female protagonist of all time in video games, it'd be her or Lara Croft.
Man, that's who I meant to pick. That also could make my top 3, depending if I'm thinking about it. I love Lara Croft. Lara Croft's freaking cool. She's kind of like Sora. This one's my honorable mention. I think his name's Spanx. I don't remember. These guys are experiments from a game called Whiplash, where they're experimenting on weasels and rabbits and things for some reason. He broke out. They're chained together. Spax proceeds to use the rabbit as a weapon. I love his ingenuity, just getting out of that facility, and it's stupid fun. And sometimes that's all I need in life. And yeah, that's all. Talked about Jak and Daxter. Rayman, that's another honorable mention for me. He gets pretty close to the top. You see games where he's just having fun, he's just goofing off. So I love that. And then you see games where he's on a mission and he's gonna go beat the bad guy. So the fact that he can do both, it's pretty cool. That's iconic to me. I think that's Nathan Drake, perhaps.
That's Nathan Drake. That's me.
True. Accurate statement.
That's
Moving
me.
on.
That's true. My great grandpa is Francis Drake. I just don't go shoot people about it
Yet.
Tom
Holland does play TJ in a movie, though.
But really, if you're thinking, he's like, Lara Croft is up there, and then under her a little bit is Nathan Drake as far as this type of game goes, which is not really fair because that's Lara Croft. That's impossible to compete with.
God, incredible.
But Uncharted deserves its flowers.
Yeah. I'm also hoping the Indiana Jones game is a lot like a Lara Croft game, but Indiana Jones. Yeah. I'm hoping to get that on Steam Deck soon because I'm getting a Steam Deck. Spyro is another one, honorable mention for me. Also just one of those like all-time greatest gaming icons for me. I'm like, when I think video games, part of me is just always going to think Spyro and Crash Bandicoot because like that was my jam back in the day when I was a kid. Love those. Talked more about it on PlayStation episode, so I'll just I'll leave that be for now. Crash Bandicoot. Talked about him. TJ put this on the honorable mention list.
I thought it'd be funny.
All right.
Shout out to Laura.
Yeah, correct.
Tetrominoes.
Oh man. All right, and this gets to, for me, I'm gonna spoil something here. This gets to part of when I talk about like who I think mainstream culture thinks of as like the main video game icons, like the biggest ones they remember. I gotta have Mega Man in the conversation. Not just because for me as like a kid, I loved Mega Man. I loved like just how difficult these games were for me was fun. But it's that's what I know him from. A lot of people know him from anime and stuff, but I know him from the games. I love them. But for you guys, I want to open up a little bit. Who do you think like mainstream culture sees as the greatest video game icons?
I mean, I'd put Mario probably near the top, if not number one.
For sure. TJ.
My like keyboard stopped working to unmute myself for some reason. But Mario, Sonic, Pikachu.
You know what? That's fair.
Yep.
That's
In that
extremely
order.
fair.
Yeah, Mario, Sonic, Pikachu.
I think
Yeah.
those are probably the big three. Yeah.
I think those three. I still think Mega Man, Pac-Man, and I think Steve probably makes that list just because Minecraft now, if I remember right, is the absolute top-selling game of all time, right?
Yeah. I think with the younger generations, Steve is gonna be gotta be there.
Yeah. So I think he's got to be part of the conversation. Plus, I could include a picture of Jack Black. Why wouldn't I do that? Yeah. So let's go with these. Well, I put Zelda as well before I even knew your pick. I was thinking Zelda's probably, or Link is probably in the top.
There you go, sport.
Yeah, top three. I think Zelda games, and I just picture Link. I don't know, man. But the same thing with like Frankenstein. I'm like, yeah, I know that it's not the monster, but like when I hear Frankenstein, I don't picture an old man. I picture the monster. Right. Anyway, Link, Steve, Mario, Sonic, Pikachu, Mega Man, Pac-Man. of this group, like, why do you guys think that these, for like mainstream culture, why are these the ones that you think stick out to people?
I just want to say really quick, shout out to Pac-Man World.
Hmm.
Great game. Love that game.
Correct. I'm probably also going to get that on Steam Deck because I know it's a thing I can do.
I think a lot of people have history with these characters, and that they played multiple games, or most everyone's been in an arcade at some point in time, or even like a restaurant where they just have like a video game system up, and it's going to be like Pac-Man or Galaga or something like that. So Pac-Man would be there, or like there's tons of Mario games that plenty of children that might have been their first experience, or pretty much everyone's played Pokemon, so Pikachu's going to be up there, Sonic as well. Like it's the availability of certain games as opposed to like maybe like a Donkey Kong doesn't have as many games compared to a Mario or Link or Pikachu or what have you. So that's the more accessibility there is, the higher chance that person would have them on their list as most iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think simplicity of design for those three, Mario, Pikachu, Sonic, they just stand out. They're simple. I think the history is a factor. I think for me too, part of what I think makes them great is what makes gaming great in general, and it's that they represent the fact that this is an escape into a different world. This doesn't have to be like real life. I think that's where video games started, and now I think in more recent years we're trying to imitate real life a little bit more, and you get horror games and you get war games and different things like that. But that's kind of where they started.
Yeah. I have charitable and uncharitable reasons behind it. I think to be uncharitable, I think a lot of it is just like they look fun. Like I think sometimes popular culture is very simple and they look fun. I also think it's probably like a lot of the vibe. Like when you think, for example, I think when you think Pac-Man, you don't just think the little yellow circle. You're thinking about like old memories you had. You think about the music, the colors. Like I think it's a whole vibe that comes with it. My more charitable ones, I do think that the reason, like specifically Link and Pikachu, I think the reason that they make it up there actually might have some to do with their character. So like I think it is because Link is adventurous. It's like people have played as him, they've learned who he is as a character, and they admire the character. So I think that's why he still kind of stays in the forefront, is actually because he's a hero. We all want to be a hero. Pikachu, I think it's largely to do with the anime, because really, if you just played the games, I think it would be hard to be like, yeah, Pikachu, that was my favorite of these things I caught.
For your information, when I was younger, I spent a good several months pretending I was a rat, so I would love to be Pikachu.
All right, TJ aside, but I think like in the anime, like you do see the things like what Christian was talking about, like where he is like he's strong, he does the things that he shouldn't be able to do. He just has so much oomph, like Pikachu has so much spirit, and I think that carried on, and we attached his personality to the same little character in the game that really doesn't have the same personality, but to us it does because anime cool. Then Steve, I'll comment on that too. I think part of why Minecraft in general is getting big is because people want to feel like they're creating. I think that's part of what it means to be human. And Minecraft just makes that accessible to everyone. And Steve just happens to be the icon of that game. Like, I really think that's all it is. Yeah. All right. Any other comments on why people might have these as like the mainstream top picks? I will say the reason Galaga doesn't make it is because Galaga doesn't have a real character. Sorry, Will. But that is the only reason. Yeah. Any other thoughts? All right, then let's move on to, we're going to just select from all the characters, whether it's an honorable mention, a mainstream pick, whatever, build out who you want to be in 2025. And I'll start making this a little bit easier for people. I want to have the patience of Mega Man, because like you can't play those games and not have to like learn how to wait and time things correctly. So I want to have his patience. I want to have the love of Sora, the humor of Ratchet, the courage of Spyro the Dragon. I want to have that too. As far as like things to immolate, some of those perverted jokes we talked about with Jack, with Daxter and Ratchet, I think we could probably get rid of some of those. Again, Sora's just running in blindly, and a lot of these characters doing that. That's something I don't want to be like that. I want to be someone who takes the time to think things through, more like Mega Man, and time things well instead of just running in and hoping for the best. Just me personally, that's where I'm at. And then Raymond, I want to be like that kind of person who can like, hey, now is fun time. I'm going to party, and then later is adventure time, and I'll adventure, and to like just be able to put myself in those things, and to be able to be both, like to switch my hat a little bit easier. Yeah, I want to be like that. So that's who I'm hoping to be 2025. TJ, who are you hoping to be 2025? Build it from these characters.
I'm in 2025 carrying with me Corvo's love, as militant as it may be, and I do like Spyro's bravery. I'm a big fan of that. Uh, Crash's, what is the word? I don't even know a word that describes how Crash approaches his life with, grace. I mean, it's hard to call what Crash does graceful, but
I got a certain spin factor.
Casual.
yes,
Casual.
I'm bringing a certain spin factor with me into 2025. A little ugo to lighten the year for us.
Fantastic.
For the immolation pile, which is just a bonfire. I'm putting in the naivety of Sora in a lot of these characters. That's it. I'm leaving the naivety behind. I'm thinking a lot this year.
Yeah, you can be realistic. I like it.
No.
Okay. Christian, build out who you want to be 2025 using some of these characters. What you want to emulate and immolate. Christian.
I want to excise. No, I want to have the work ethic, the tenacity and courage of Kyle Katarn, and the ability to admit when I'm wrong, which is what you do in Mysteries of the Sith, is that you fall to the dark side. So, oh man, that was a terrible decision, and come back to the light. I'd like to resist those baser parts of myself that would lead me to that direction. I want to maintain Krea's sarcasm and not have her biting view of the world that I can often get when I'm at my most misanthropic. So I want to excise that from myself. I want the ability of the Dragonborn to lose weight as I eat. That'd be great. Let's see. Oh, and Pikachu. I want people to love me like Pikachu.
I also want to be able to shout like the Dragonborn when my dog won't stop howling. I think it might help. James, build out. Who is James in 2025 using video game characters?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with and add one. So for Jack and Dexter, I think good humor is always really important. So good humor and immolating the bad humor. But also I think Jack's balance. 2025, I want to be more of a balanced person in my communication, in my work life balance kind of thing. So for Sora, I'm gonna go devotion. I want to be more of a devoted husband and pastor and all of those cliche things in 2025. And then for Link, courage.
Yeah.
And then the one I'm going to add is Sonic. And I want to imitate Sonic's speed in 2025. I feel like we live in a fast-paced world, and speed is now a virtue, and it's becoming more and more so. And so I would like to be a little bit faster at things in 2025, like Sonic.
Yeah. Me too. But, I'm realistic. I'm going to throw out my naivety and just tell you I'm not going to get faster. I'm going to continue to be a slow person and find a way to reconcile that maybe.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right, guys. This was fun. Time to jump to the wrap up, though. And for those who have a couple extra minutes, you want to go to Patreon, Captivate, or Apple Podcasts, you can hear us answer a bonus question we're going to do really quickly. And we're going to answer who we think are the most overrated and underrated gaming icons of all time. So that'll be fun. But for now, we're going to each give a recommendation. Can be about anything. This one's difficult for me. I think if you haven't played Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, and you should play that. Whether you're a fan or not, it's a great place to start, but also if you've been a fan of Kingdom Hearts and somehow haven't played Birth by Sleep, you have no idea what's going on in Kingdom Hearts and should play Birth by Sleep. So I think
okay, though, here's my problem with the Riku's better than Sora thing. Okay. With referencing Birth by Sleep. Terra made that choice. And Terra was making bad choices that entire game.
Yeah, but
So
Terra's more related to Riku.
You know that Terra
Yeah.
actually made a good choice with choosing to pass on to Riku. Anyways.
True,
Yeah.
true. Maybe it's just better to say Riku has a stronger heart, but he's not as good. Sora's very good, just in general. Unsure. But recommendation, James.
Okay, I've been on a deep dive like the last couple days. I was like bored last week, and I was like, I need a game. I was like Googling like best games in 2024. What should I play? And so I stumbled on this game. I'm playing on the Switch. It is. I hate the title of the game because it's the most silly title ever. But it's called Unicorn Overlord, and it is
I
a
love this.
JRPG by Vanillaware, and it's imagine Fire Emblem, but like better and more complex on like every level, similar to like Octopath Traveler, but you're playing with units, not just individual characters. So you're controlling a unit of like 3 to 5 characters at once instead of just an individual character's action. So it's really complicated. It's really fun, and it's a simple and great plot. So yeah, it's great.
Great. Yeah. I'm going to cheat and throw in a second recommendation because that's what Christian's going to do anyway. Papers, Please. It's a video game I learned of because of Ben Chica. And it's really simple. You are an immigrations officer and have to give people their papers and send them back, and you get to hear their backstory and decide, is this actually what's best? And is the system being overloaded? And it's not like hey, we need to be more progressive on this issue. It actually makes you think from both sides a little bit. And I think it's a challenging game. So pick that one up if you feel like being challenged in your politics, maybe. Christian, Ashley, where are we at with video game recommendations or any recommendations? Sorry.
Yes, I'm going to cheat, but not the way you want, because I'm going to give an anti-recommendation. Like I mentioned in the earlier episode, I'm going through different horror franchises that I've never seen the full movies of. I avoided the Child's Play series like the plague, and it turns out I was right to do so. Outside of Child's Play 2, the rest just kind of suck.
Fantastic. I love anti-recommendations. TJ, any recommendations for everybody?
Dishonored. If you haven't played Dishonored, you need to. It's $10 on Steam. Most computers can probably run Dishonored at this point. It has a perfect 5-star rating on Steam with 62,000 reviews.
Oh, wow.
It has an 8.4 on IMDb. It has a 9.3 from GameStop. It has a 10 from IGN. It is one of the best games of all time.
All right. That maybe convinced me. I can't wait to get a Steam and just download a bunch of games. Anyways, if you're on a laptop, please consider rating and reviewing our show on Podchaser or GoodPads. One of those two specifically is going to help our show gain recognition, make it easier to find on search engines like Google, which is where people look for things. So help us out. If you're on your phone, consider rating, reviewing, or commenting on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Those are the two biggest podcast listening platforms. So if you do that there, you'll deceive the system into thinking we're important, and then more people will listen to us because of your deception. So do that. Also, again, thank you to one of our sponsors. We really appreciate you, Daniel Sigmund. You, if you're listening, we appreciate you. We love you, even like Sora would love you. And if you guys want your own shout out on the show, you think that's fun just to hear someone's name and you want it to be your name. Well, $3 a month or more on Apple Podcasts, Captivate, or Patreon, and we'll add you to the list of people we shout out. And now the series over. You can listen to the whole series of video game icons down below with that link. So check that out. And remember, of course, we need you to remember, we're all a chosen people. A geekdom of priests.